What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Professionals Project. My name is Kenton Hipsher. I am the CEO and founder of the nonprofit. And once again, if you're not familiar, our mission is to educate and inspire Black and Brown youth through the careers of Black and Brown professionals. And today we have with us another awesome Black professional that I used to work with, and I know she is very happy to share her story with us today, and that is Dr. Humphries.
Hi. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you sharing your story and your professional journey with us.
Oh, no problem. I'm really happy to be here.
Great. So to get us kicked off here, will you share with them what your profession is and in what industry you work in?
Yes. So my profession is a data scientist, and right now I work in biotech as a senior data scientist.
Awesome. And how would you describe your ethnicity and where are you originally from?
My ethnicity is African American. I was born in DC, and I grew up. Yes.
Chocolate City.
Oh yeah. And then my mother moved to San Diego until I was 16. So I grew up there, and then I finished off high school in Maryland.
Gotcha. So back and forth, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah. Yes.
So now for the great question, which coast is better, East or West?
Each one has its own special flavor. I particularly like the West Coast for the weather and the more laid back atmosphere versus the East Coast. It's definitely different on the East Coast for that. But there's some great things. I mean, I love DC, so I do miss that area.
Yeah, DC is one of my favorite cities on the East Coast. And I know living on the West Coast now and coming from the Midwest, I can definitely agree with you about the weather and the scenery and being in touch with nature. These are things that you don't get too often in the Midwest or on the East Coast. So it's really nice to be here.
Yeah.
So where are you currently living now then? So you went from DC to San Diego to Maryland, and now you're in.
Oh, I'm in Seattle, but I decided, and I guess this will be done during my career development portion, but I've traveled all on cities on the East Coast and on the West Coast to figure out exactly which city I like the most. But now I'm in Seattle, particularly a suburb called Kirkland.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. That's really cool that you kind of explored around both areas.
Yeah.
Great. So can you walk us through sort of what a day in the life is like for you as a senior data scientist at a biotech company?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I guess every day is sort of unique. So I'll sort of walk you through a typical day and then tell you how that differs between the weeks, I guess. So, I get to work, and my team, we decide exactly what work we're going to do for the next 2 weeks. And so I plan out what I'm going to do for those 2 weeks. So I get to work and I look at the plan and figure out what I'm going to do. And it sort of involves a lot of analyses or reading of papers to do the analyses. So that's pretty much my morning-ish time. And then there's, of course, some meetings to sit there and collaborate with my fellow data scientists. And then there's also sometimes people pinging me in terms of just needing help, because since I am a senior data scientist, I help other data scientists with things that they might be doing or what have you. And lastly, it's going to be, once or twice a week, there are meetings with the other people outside of the team to show my results to. And then there's also going to be time that I need to code. So I part of GitHub, and I submit my code a lot there. So you have to submit your code for your analyses or algorithms, and then you have people look it over, or I'm looking over their code. So that's generally done in a later afternoon, at least in my schedule.
Cool. So can you explain a little bit about what a data scientist is in your words? Because I have friends who are data scientists in other industries, and everyone kind of describes their role a little bit differently. So how would you describe yours?
Here at Zymergen, I would say that my role is to, I guess, to be fair, a data scientist can change. Like there's different flavors of data science at Zymergen. But my particular role is to help enable the scientists do their work with the help of algorithms. So there might be something that, when you think about all the work that needs to be done, there's a couple of pieces that might be a little tedious or annoying to be done. And those are perfect areas where a data scientist can create algorithms or approaches that might speed those up. So what I'm trying to do and what my team is trying to do is to work on those particular facets of speeding up those areas so that the scientists can sit there and focus on other areas that aren't as tedious and require more creative thought and thinking.
That's cool. So it's always different to hear what everybody describes it as. Some people are like, I crunch big data all the time. But other people are like, I have to interface with the customer actually more often than not. So it's interesting to see how, everybody's example of a data scientist changes.
And I think that does depend on your where you're at. I was at Amazon before this, and I felt like those descriptions actually fit what I was doing in my day-to-day job as a data scientist. So yeah, I think you can be data scientist can change from company to company, but the thing is that you have to be pretty good at numbers, pretty decent at coding, and most importantly, you need to be able to communicate pretty well with the customer so that you can help them and they can help you in terms of doing your job.
For sure. So how did you get started into the data science track? What was your educational career kind of like? Because as I referred to you as Dr. Humphries, clearly you have your doctorate. So do you feel like that was something that was necessary, or do you feel like that's something you did because you wanted to do it, or really what led you down the path to get to where you are today?
Yeah. So I think my thing was just that I always liked science. As a little kid, I always excelled in my biology and chemistry classes and math growing up. And it was just always fascinating to me. Like, those classes where you're sort of just doing what you need to do to like excel in the class. And then the ones that you actually continue to read and you're excited and you talk to the teacher afterwards. And so I realized that with biology. So I did my undergrad in biology. I got a bachelor's in biology and genetics, actually. And the genetics just happened. It wasn't even on purpose. It just so happened that I liked that class. And then I kept taking more and more classes. I ended up taking 5 genetic-based classes in my undergrad, which is pretty cool, but not something I realized I was doing until I looked back on it. And then I decided that I wanted to be more in charge of what I was doing. And so I was fortunate enough to have done a lot of internships, paid. And so I realized that I needed to get a PhD in order to do things that I wanted to do in the field of science. So what I did is I decided to get my PhD, and I actually did a little detour. So I took some time off between my undergrad and PhD, and I worked at UPenn for a little bit. I thought I was going to go into cancer immunology. Then I went to University of Massachusetts medical school and for my PhD. And I personally did not like it there. So I left actually after 9 or so months. I enrolled in a different graduate program because I didn't feel comfortable there. I just wasn't happy. So I enrolled in University of Miami. And I was certain, so I rotated with 3 different labs, and I was certain I was going to do some cancer immunology lab. And so I had a rotation is where you spend sort of like dating a professor. So you spend 8 to 16 weeks, and then you decide whether or not you're going to join their lab or if you're going to do your PhD in another lab. And so I had decided that on one of these rotations that I was going to do a cancer immunology lab. So I had one rotation left that I had to do. So I figured that was a throwaway rotation. I was going to do something I never thought of doing before. So I did a genetics one. And so I ended up going into a genetics lab. And there is where I realized that I loved analyzing the data a lot more than generating the data. So my professor saw that I was, I guess, hardworking, and I just happened to fall into a situation where she needed somebody to learn how to code and to do this work. So she handed something to me, and I remember Googling how to code for noobs. I honestly had no training. So all of my training has been through Google or through like online courses that I found for free in terms of learning how to code, because that's what was available to me back then. And then I realized I really, really liked that. And so then for my postdoc, I made sure to do my PhD with somebody that was also very math heavy and that was more into the data science field. And then after doing my postdoc, I realized that I wanted to get paid a lot more than in the academic industry, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So then I jumped and I went to Amazon. But there I realized that while I did want to get paid, I loved biology, and it's not something I should have just poo-pooed away. So mm-hmm. I'm now at Zymergen, where I can do the data science that I love. I can get a decent salary that's not academic, and I can also merge the biology, which I have loved since I can remember. So I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, that's really crazy that your genetics sort of background has been almost accidental your entire career, and now it's kind of a key part of your life.
Yeah,
that's cool though. I'm really excited to hear that, just because going through the graduate process myself, it is a lot of trial and error, and I think the things that you are usually the best at are the things that you kind of stumble upon. It's most of the time I don't feel like it's very intentional. It's just like, I just tried this out because it was presented to me and I was good at it. And so now I'm pursuing this thing. And I hear that a lot from other professionals. So it's great to hear that echoed kind of from your story as well.
Yeah, no, it is just a lot of fun. And I actually really enjoy going to work. So I count myself lucky in that regard.
So what is it that makes you, gets you up out of bed in the morning and gets you excited to go analyze some data, outside of just the biology aspect? What other things?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I love doing, this harkens back to when I was apparently a little kid, according to my uncle, was that I was like that annoying little kid that was always asking why like a bajillion times. Yes, he does not let me forget. And I think that that's continued. And in terms of like the background question in my mind. So even when I was at Amazon, one of the things that kept getting me out of bed was, why are the customers doing this? Why is the biology doing this? Why, at Zymergen is where I'm asking that question. Why are we doing this? How can it be better? How can we make this a little bit better? Like, what is causing this to do this, and what is causing that to do that? And so just that wanting to know drives me, because I think there's so many questions that we can ask that we haven't addressed, and that we can do it with data. And now that, our world is being more, we have this deluge of data that's present. There's so many questions to ask that we haven't been able to ask before, and insights that we can gather. So that is what excites me a lot.
Yeah, you're sifting through all the numbers and all the text to find that one key thing that could potentially change a process or, optimize a process, which is really fascinating. And I, as a former scientist, I understand the thrill behind knowing that little piece of information that nobody else knows. So,
yeah, it's I don't know what it is, but it's definitely fantastic every single time it happens. So,
mm-hmm. My parents used to say the same thing about me. They're like, you just should go into politics because all you do is ask why this or why that, or constantly asking me questions. Unfortunately, I didn't make it there, Mom, but that's okay. I made it somewhere else.
It's never too late.
That's true. That's true. Maybe I could be the next Barack, but I doubt it. So in addition to all these cool things that you have, found in your career and really earned the ability to pursue these things, what are some of the obstacles that you face on a day-to-day basis in your role?
Some of the obstacles, I think some of the obstacles facing are just not so much here at Zymergen, but at other places, because I've also taught, just sort of microaggressions. As a female in the tech field, it's a little more difficult than because you have sort of two dings against you, if you will. So you have to, because people don't tend to. I think there's an entire field of like how females are viewed in tech, as well as how minorities are viewed in tech. So it's just more along the lines of you have to always be on top of your game when you're presenting and when you have your work. I think that's something I have seen quite frequently. And then I think other obstacles are just trying to learn more information in terms of data science. So data science is a pretty recent field, and there's so much information coming out, and a lot of it's coming from academic institutions. So it's just, making the time to read it, keeping on top of your stuff, because it's a new field that's moving quite quickly, which is great for new people to join because you can jump in and really understand the information. Even though I'm a senior data scientist, data science hasn't been around for too long. So it's you can learn those things, but it's still like a very fast moving field. So those are a couple of obstacles that I face, I think.
Okay, that's interesting because of course, as a male, I don't experience some of those things, and I also don't work in the tech industry, so I don't have any firsthand experience. But I'm sure I have a lot of friends that do, and I'm sure they would echo those same sentiments back. But it's interesting to hear that perspective. So that's really all the questions that I have for you. I know it's gone by pretty quickly. It usually does, but do you have any closing remarks or advice that you would like to give to any Black or brown youth out there that want to follow in your footsteps or pursue a career similar to yours?
Yeah, I would just say definitely just be perseverant. Hold on.
You're okay.
Yeah, I would just say be perseverant in terms of what you're going to do. So one of the things that I did when I first tried to get into bridge from academia to tech was that I interviewed a lot, and I actually got turned down some places. And so one of the things that I would do is I sat there and interviewed, and I contacted the recruiter after they told me no. And I said, I really wanted to work for this company. Can you tell me what I could have done better? And so I just kept doing that, and then tweaking my resume, and I got a job by just doing that. But it's I did that, and then before that, I actually had a resume, and I realized I wasn't getting feedback. So I kept changing it and changing it and changing it until I finally did something where it was hitting all the algorithms, and I was able to actually get a bunch of flooding back. But it's just, being perseverant and being able to look at the bright side of the no's and trying to learn and develop from that, because you will face no's. I think everybody faces no's. And then just working and getting yourself through there. And through that case, I now have a list of recruiters that I can contact that would love to sit there and interview me if I wanted to go back, or if I wanted to go back into the non-biotech area. So, just keeping an open mind and realizing it does suck sometimes when you don't get exactly what you want, but trying to figure out exactly how can you carve that path to using that to go to the next step has been really, really good in my career. And I feel like it's helped me a lot.
That's excellent. That's like a great piece of advice on how to handle rejection, because like you said, it's inevitable. At some point in your life, someone's going to tell you no for an opportunity that you really want. And I feel like asking, just directly asking people, what can I do better is a simple way to get some constructive feedback. So that's a great tip. And I hope you guys really take note of these things and take this advice and run with it. But at this point, that's everything that I have for you. So I want to thank you once again for coming on. And we really appreciate you and all the work that you do. And of course, as a Black woman, we want to uplift you and empower you. And do you have any shout outs or sort of like last second things you want to say to the people?
I really appreciate all of those teachers and people who took the time as I was developing, because I was not the easiest teenager, to steer me in the right direction. And just remember, when dealing with those people, that they have your best interest at heart, and it might not be the advice that you want, but it's also really good to just try it out and see. So they helped make me who I am today. So I'm really happy about that.
Perfect. And I want to thank you once again, and I want to give you a shout out. I've already given it to you off camera, but I want to on camera say congratulations on becoming a new mommy.
Thanks.
And joining that awesome club of women. And now I'm going to look to the camera, as I always do, and tell you guys to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss another Black professional's story, and learn about their journey and really grow and try to find something that motivates and inspires you to pursue a career similar to the ones that you may see here. And if there are any types of careers or people that you want me to look into, I will personally get on LinkedIn and message these people and try to get them onto the channel so that we can provide the best experience and the most opportunities for you guys. And if you want to follow us, you can follow us on social media at Black_professions. That's BLK_professions on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the above. Please join our community, and you never know, you may get a great mentor out of this that could take you farther than you ever would have thought before. So thank you to Dr. Humphries again, and with that, we are out.